So in 25 minutes, number one, it's my anniversary.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Thank you. And I've been married to my beautiful wife now for 2 years. You all know her. So I want to spend some time with her. And I talked her into letting me get a puppy, and the puppy's coming to my house at 7.
What kind? Oh, fun. What kind?
Okay. He is a English setter.
Oh, nice.
So,
Wonderful.
and it was totally non-planned, but there's a really well-known breeder here, and it just worked out. And he called me, and I was like, I cannot take a puppy right now, but I was like, I have to.
You're gonna have to bring him to the office.
Sure. So everyone in this room maybe can relate to the reality that puppies take priority sometimes in life. Okay.
How old is he?
He's 8 weeks old. I know. So.
I have to bring him over to play with Daisy.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes, I will. Okay. So none of you have been around long enough to see how our classes are always evolving and changing. And we went from, we've been teaching classes every Tuesday night for 5 years. People say, are you going to teach class tonight? And I say, is it Tuesday? And they say, yeah. I go, I'm teaching class. If nobody shows up, we're still teaching class on the internet. So we're always teaching class. We usually have some people tuning in on the internet. I was telling a story. Maybe you heard, maybe you didn't. If you didn't hear, that's okay. But I was telling a story how my daughter got the flu a week and a half ago.
The little one?
Yeah, the little one. And, she's 11 months old. She turns 1 in 2 weeks. And in the middle of the night, she starts throwing up. Well, I'm a dad, so I can sleep through anything. But my wife is nudging me, and she's like, honey, she's throwing up all over the place. So we're in California. We're not at home. She's throwing up, like projectile. You guys are moms. You've seen this before. This was the first time that we had to deal with that with our daughter as new parents and having this little baby that you care more than anything about in the world. And she's throwing up. So we get the bed all cleaned up, new sheets on, call down the hotel, get new sheets, get mom and her in the shower, they're cleaning up, and she starts nursing again. You're not thinking anything of it. We lay down in these fresh new sheets, and boom, again, all over the place. So now we're starting to think, gosh, this is real, First we're thinking, maybe she, I don't know. This stuff goes through your head, but then again, and then again, and again, and again. So 5 times in the middle of the night she's throwing up. And as a parent, you guys know this better than I do because you've, been through the process and been initiated in more than I have. But you're thinking to yourself, you look to your spouse, and the first thing that comes to your head is, honey, well, what should we do? Right? And you might say, gosh, doc, it's just the flu. And I totally agree. And all of you in this room have heard that this is a bad flu season, and children have been dying. And I don't care where you're at on the spectrum, it at least does pop through your head. And I'm a rock with my belief system. And still, the devil starts talking to you over here. And, the night goes on, and I kept thinking to myself, how awful would this be to be a parent and not have the philosophy of health and the belief system that I have been developing for the past 20 years? So, we look at this and we're like, she's sick. She's throwing up because something's wrong. There's something in her system that her system wants out. It's a good thing that she's throwing up because I'd rather have her throw it up than have it stay in her system, because then that's when you get really sick. When you suppress something that your body's trying to expel, you're setting yourself up for a disaster. So I'm just lying there in bed, thinking about this, praying about this, checking her neck, making sure she's adjusted well, and just thinking, this would suck if I didn't know anything about health, and if I was on vacation, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, we're not at home. What do we have to take her to a doctor? We have to take her to a hospital. What are we going to do? How are we going to get there? How are we going to pay for it? Like 9 million things. And then I'm just laying there thinking, it's fine. She's just sick, and her body's going to be fine because that's what the body does. It heals. So that was the first thing that I was thinking about with this whole concept of subluxation and health is if your patient is off, you understand that the body's designed to heal, and you understand that if we remove interference from the body can heal. Get out of the way, Put the cake in the oven and turn the oven on, and don't open the oven because you're going to mess it up, right? My sister-in-law, for Thanksgiving, she puts the stuff into the crock pot, and I'm a guy, and guys, we walk by and we open it up because we want to taste it and look at it. You know what I'm talking about? And she's like, if you open up that crock pot one more time, it's not going to finish. Stop it. Okay? Remove the interference from the body. Let the body express itself. And I told my patient, I said, there's always a line. You know, as you creep up closer to that line, that's when you have to ask for help, or that's when there's an emergency. And knowing that line is important. All right? So education, this is the quote that I read this morning. Education is the inoculation for disruption. And I'm like, that's a really vulgar, like, wow quote. I read it like 6 times. Education is the inoculation for disruption. So there's several reasons why people aren't healthy. Okay? But really a lot of it comes down to 2 things. Either they lack the education on how to get healthy, or there's something called, free choice or free will. They choose not to do the things that they need to do to be healthy because we all have free will. I think it comes down to either they don't know how to get healthy, or they don't know how to make the right choice, or they're choosing not to make the right choice that oftentimes we know we have to make. Okay? Inoculation of disruption. Think about that. Education gives you the power to then stimulate this change in your system, in your brain, in your body, so that you can then make the change that you need to have. People perish because of lack of information. And then they perish even more because of lack of implementation. Okay? Information without implementation leads to depression. How many times has anyone ever gone to a seminar or gone somewhere or read a book and you go, gosh, I just wish I never read that because I'm depressed. I've done it. Welcome to the story of my life. Okay, I go to these seminars and I go, gosh, and my finger's turning white, by the way. You see that? I keep playing around with it. So, education is so important. Has anyone ever heard the quote, if you want to double your wealth, triple your learning? It's famous. I can't remember, one of these, I don't know who it was, one of these great authors wrote that. I changed it. I said, if you want to double your health, triple your learning. Just hang out with healthy people. Ask healthy questions. Go to healthy doctors. Go seek health, and you will become healthy. Right? People get healthy by choice, not by chance. Okay? And the hardest step is the first step. All right? I was in the office this morning meeting with someone that's helped me with some work. So I had an appointment. She was supposed to be here at 11:30. And then I had another appointment with someone who, Cindy, who does some marketing for me up front. She set up a meeting for me to meet with a marketer at noon. So I was sitting back here getting ready for my 11:30 meeting. It's 11:30 on the dot. I hear the door open, and I go walking up to the front, and I'm thinking, that's not the person who's supposed to be here at 11:30. That's someone completely different. And that's not the 12 o'clock appointment either. I'm thinking, who the heck is this? So I go walking up there and introduce myself. And she's just randomly selling something, selling insurance. And she said, do you have any employees? And I said, yeah, I'm having some dialogue with her. She said, how many employees do you have? Are they W-2 or are they 1099? So I'm just, entertaining this conversation. And she said, do you offer your team insurance? And I said, yeah, they get the best health care in town. I pay for it. And she said, and she kind of chuckled, and she said, what about conventional insurance? And I said, no, we don't do that here. And she said, you see, Doc, my job's just like yours. People show up to you. I'm trying a version of this. She said, people show up to you when there's a problem, when they have back or neck pain, and hopefully you fix them and then you never see them again. I think, okay. And she said, I sell insurance, and hopefully people like you invest in insurance in case there's ever a crisis, and our insurance will cover it. Do you agree? Mm-hmm. And this is how she's explaining this to me, and I can't help but think, you got it all wrong. Okay? Hey, you're talking, and then all of a sudden my 11:30 showed up, so the conversation got short. I'm thinking to myself, you got it all wrong. Okay? What happened was, she had a perception of who I was and what I did. She perceived me as a chiropractor, and in her mind, she perceived in her reality that I would never need to come here if I never had neck or back pain. And she said, luckily I've never needed chiropractic. And I'm thinking, okay, you got it wrong again. Okay, so her perception led her to her belief system that unfortunately I believed and perceived it to be wrong. You see where this is going? And she's telling me this conversation, and I'm thinking, there it is. Boom, hit the nail on the head. This is the uphill battle that I live my life every single day by. Okay, I'm an educator, I'm a teacher, and I remove subluxations and spines, because people who don't know that a subluxation can destroy their life will never find me. And the model has perceived chiropractic as being neck pain, back pain. If you don't have that, you don't need it, and good thing. Okay? And that's where I realized, I said, that's the uphill struggle, and that's the reason why we have to educate people. Because this woman, and as she left, I'm thinking, she doesn't know it, and she's never going to know it, because her perception is wrong. Okay? Interesting conversation. And I was just listening, receiving it. So if I perceive that brushing my teeth is good and healthy for me, I'll take action. I'll brush my teeth every day, which I do, by the way. I love it. And I have a water pick, which I love, that I bought on Amazon for $129. It's really nice, because I hate to floss. It's helping me get over the flossing thing. If I don't perceive my teeth to be that important to me, I won't brush my teeth. And you all have seen this before. You've seen people that did not take care of their teeth. Okay? If my perception of getting the oil changed in my vehicle had value, and I understood that changing oil was a good thing, and I perceived good, healthy oil is a positive thing for my car, whether or not my car's running or not running, then I'm probably going to get an oil change every 3,000 to 5,000 miles. You see where I'm going with this? If I perceive chiropractic as being something that can help my brain communicate with my body, which is what it's designed to do, and if I recognize and acknowledge that if I ever do have neck or back pain, they can help me with that too, you're going to take better care of your spine. That's not the way that we've been educated, though. We've been educated really wonderfully on oral hygiene, and really I mean, I can sit down with, there could be 1,000 people in this room, and I can say, who in this room thinks that eating healthy is a good thing to do? All of them will raise their hand. Nobody would ever argue that. And if I said, who in this room thinks that exercise is a really healthy thing to do? Everyone would raise their hand. Nobody could ever argue that. And if I said, who in this room thinks that getting adjusted on a regular basis by a chiropractor is a good thing to do? I'd be 10% of the room would raise their hand. We know this. It's about 9 to 10% of the population really understands, and I'd argue probably a lot less. Okay? That's a problem. All right? And I'm going to get into that a little bit more. So the perception is key. Let me tell you a story. Does anybody like wine? I like wine. I actually just started, I had my first glass of wine in probably 5 years. When did I get here? On Friday. Okay, because there's this really amazing wine company that I got to know. I'll tell you about it. Actually, I'll tell you right now. It's called Dry Farm Wines. And they buy and they source wine from all over the world. And you might like to know that 0 of the American vineyards have passed their stringent tests that they put the wine through. So maybe hopefully soon we'll get an American wine. But they test for pesticides, for herbicides, for yeasts, fungus, molds. They test sugar content. All of their wine has almost 0 sugar content in it because of the fermentation process. It's actually really, if you're going to drink wine, this is the wine you want to drink. Okay, and each month they send you wine from all over the world. It's passed their stringent tests. No preservatives, no sulfites. I mean, it's just a real what wine's supposed to taste like, okay? This is what got me thinking about wine in this conversation. So Stanford University did a really cool study where they took a $90 bottle of wine. Do you think that's a pretty expensive bottle of wine? Yeah, that's steep. All right, I think $20 is getting up there for a bottle of wine. $90 bottle of wine and a $10 bottle of wine. They took the $10 bottle of wine, they put the $90 sticker on it, and they put the $90 sticker, bottle of wine, they put the $10 sticker on it, and they got 100 people. And they put the wine out. And everyone's, oh, what kind of wine is this? And they're looking at it, and boom, they're seeing how much it costs. Okay. After they did this little social hour, they gave them surveys, and they studied their reaction. Okay. Some people didn't get the $90 or I'm sorry, the fake $90 bottle of wine. Some people didn't get the fake $10 bottle of wine. So this group over here was drinking $90 wine and it had a $10 price tag on it. This group over here was drinking $10 bottle of wine with a $90 price tag on it. Who enjoyed the environment more?
The $90 one.
I gotta take this thing off. It's driving me nuts. They had a better time. The wine tasted better. They were more in their moment and element. They were elated. The real $90 group with the $10 bottle, it was okay. It was free wine, but it wasn't $90 bottle of wine, but it was. See what happened? Their perception of what they were experiencing was changed and altered, and it changed their course for their experience. This is an interesting conversation to have when we're looking at healthcare. Okay?
It's not just healthcare, it's everything.
It is everything, and that's what I'm just saying. Just take that model and now look at healthcare, because that's what the study taught us. It taught us it doesn't matter if you're selling cake or you're selling flowers or you're selling chiropractic. The perception of the consumer is really all that matters. And it's interesting. It's rather interesting. And that's why I tell my patients, I want to create the most value for your care here. I want you to have exercises. I want you to have my cell phone number. I want the best staff in town. I want the best looking office. I want classes. I want everything for you guys. Okay? Now, another wine study. Okay? And this one's equally as cool. So this is actually, I read this in the book called Brain Rules. Okay? I went to a wine convention, and they took proclaimed wine connoisseurs, 54 of them, broke them in half, okay? And they gave the study group white wine. These are connoisseurs, mind you. These aren't people like me that don't know anything about wine. Wine connoisseurs, very, advanced palate. They gave them white wine, and they dyed the wine to look like red wine. These people have drank a lot of wine in their life. And they went through the survey with them that you would see from a sommelier, how they talk you through the wine, and they use all these fancy words, and they compare the wine to everything. And wouldn't you believe that almost every single one of the 54 in the study group started describing the white wine as red wine and almost completely missed that it was actually white wine dyed like red wine. Their perception was so skewed by the color of the wine that they completely missed the reality that it was white wine that they were drinking, not red wine, just dyed. Kind of wild, isn't it? So this story about chiropractic, now we get to it finally, because we really understand our perception of things. This story of chiropractic has been sold to you in a way that you have a perception of it. Okay? I tell people all the time, I think it's a miracle that people find us. I think that if someone walks in my door, it's a miracle, because they drove past dozens of other chiropractors, dozens of other healthcare providers, and I just think it's just absolutely a blessing when people find us, okay? And they maybe have been sold the wrong story. And that's a big, big job for us to do, to help people understand that these things called subluxations, these misalignments in the vertebral column, disrupt and block your body from functioning the way God intended it to be if you believe in God. That's not okay for me. That's why I'm checking my daughter in the middle of the night in between throw up 4 and 5. Because I just want to make sure that if she needs to throw up and her body's telling her to throw up, that she's throwing up. And that's an interesting concept for a parent. I experience this a lot where parents go, yeah, gosh, they had a fever, I had to give them Tylenol. And I'm thinking, why? Their body was warming up to kill off the bacterial or viral infection. Or, yeah, gosh, they've been throwing up. And I'm thinking, just stop feeding them, let them throw up, and monitor them. Make sure they're getting fluids, and just monitor them. Because I'm thinking in my head, and you call me crazy until you really start to understand the body. If she needs to throw up, step back and let her throw up. And if she's got an interference in her neck that's not allowing her to throw up, guess what's going to happen when I adjust her? She's going to really start throwing up. Okay? I have had patients, you guys know, after your first adjustment, you get a phone call from us. Let me see how you're doing. Okay? Even though I know sometimes you're going to get worse before you get better. I called this one lady. This happened a couple times, but I specifically remember I called this one lady and she said, Doc, I appreciate what you're doing, but after you adjusted me, I went home, I threw up all over the place, and now I'm laying in bed with a migraine headache. And I want to come back tomorrow. And I have this moment where if I say the right thing, I can change her perception. If I say the wrong thing, she's going to live the rest of her life with subluxations and degeneration, and we're never going to get this woman eating anywhere close to getting healthy. And I said, I understand that what you're going through is really challenging and difficult, and I cannot take responsibility for the way that you feel, even though it seems like what I did maybe put you in this situation with my adjustment. However, your body's expressing itself right now, and it's likely that you've had migraines in the past, and it's likely that we didn't talk about that. So help me understand, did we miss something? Do you have a history of migraines that wasn't on your intake form? She said, yeah, they went away 20 years ago, but I had them for 20 years. And I'm thinking, there it is. I said, your body is going through an unwinding process, and us unleashing that subluxation is giving you an opportunity to heal. And you got to trust me, and you got to stick with this process and know that when we keep the body free of interference, it's going to start to function and heal. You're going to get over this. It's just going to take maybe a migraine or so. And it's how your body's expressing itself. And I hung up the phone, and I'm thinking, God, please send her back because she needs this. Well, she came back, and we overcame it. You see? So these subluxations in the body, my favorite conversation to have with someone is when someone says, oh, great, you're a chiropractor? I don't believe in that. This is the scariest conversation to have as a young doctor when you go to like a chamber meeting or a dinner meeting, and everyone wants to introduce themselves and say, oh, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? And I say, I'm a proud chiropractor. And they go, oh, I've never needed that, or I don't believe in that. And you just okay, it's testing the apologetics of what you're believing in. And now, it's just the best conversation to have. Because the reality is that there's nothing to believe in or not believe in. It's choosing whether or not you want to accept it. Because there's more science backing a chiropractic adjustment than any drug or surgery that you've ever had in your life. Hands down, guarantee it. Take it to the bank. It's just that this perception has been so deeply drilled into our brain that these help us, that we're challenged with giving ourselves an opportunity to take action on a different projectile or velocity with something that's foreign to us. Okay? In this story, my favorite little model here. Has anyone got to see me with this before? My friend designed this. It's obviously a lamp, but it's of the brain in the spine. And those of you that are my patients know that a subluxation or misalignments, slight misalignments of these vertebra affect how our brain's functioning. 100% proven by science. We know that if a vertebra is slightly skewed out of alignment, your perception of your world and your environment by your brain is diminished and decreased. Wow. When we put these bones back in alignment, the brain works better, it communicates better, and it provides the cells, tissues, and organs in your body with what it needs to function. And when we live our lives with slight misalignments in this system, the body seriously, 100% starts to shut down. And as we bring those back out, we get to see the body come back to life. And it's for that reason that every single person in this world, on this planet, deserves to have a body that's communicating the way that it's designed to. And at the other end of the spectrum, most people will never have that. And you're all moms in this room. And I know this because I'm now a father. And we love our kids more than anything else, more than ourselves often. And if you're a grandmother, you love your grandkids even more for some reason, somehow, than you loved your kids, because it's just selfless love. You don't have to raise them. My mom was explaining this to me. My daughter puked on her neck in the morning, my mom, and she's like, you don't have to raise them. You don't have to be a disciplinarian. You only get to just love them, right? And sometimes you know things that will help people. And you just want to share that knowledge because you've been around longer than them. You just know some things that they don't, right? And doesn't it break your heart when they don't choose to accept or listen or, just want to know what you know? And you have to watch them suffer for so long. And then sometimes, by the grace of God, I don't know, there's this little window of opportunity that opens up, and it's like, I think that they're coming around. I mean, I've been trying to tell them this for 10 years, and that window opened, and you plant that one seed, and you step back, and you just wait for it to mature, and one day the sprout pops up out of the ground, and you go, holy smokes, I think we're going places. And that's my chiropractic journey with my patients and with the community. I probably saw 100 people today. Not in my office. I probably came in contact with 100 people between the tea shop, the grocery store, out there walking through the plaza. I probably passed a couple people, maybe 100 people, maybe, my patients combined, maybe around 100. Okay. The only ones that get this story were the people that I saw in this office. That's it. And I think to myself, what if everyone had a chance to get checked by a chiropractor? Just a chance. I mean, wouldn't you like to know if your brain was like that? If your brain was like that and my brain was like that, wouldn't it be nice that you could have this if you just knew something simple like taking pressure off your nervous system? I would want to know that. Okay? And the way that we explain this story and the way that we engage and love and communicate with people changes their perception. And that's really if you didn't learn anything about chiropractic tonight, you learned a lot about perception. And that in itself changes the trajectory of life. And if you haven't taken your rubber band off yet, I wrapped mine a little too tight.
Thank you.
So what do you want to see?
I wanted to see your face when you took it off.
But it does hurt, actually.
Relief.
Yeah. That's what happens when you take nerve pressure off your body. So you see how it cut into your skin?
Yeah.
That's your nerve. Cuts into your nerve, the blood supply. You see what it did to the blood supply? Your veins are sticking out a little bit more. Lost color, lost feeling. It eventually will go numb. That's exactly what happens inside of your nervous system when those bones come out of alignment. And to not know the full story is to not have an opportunity or a missed opportunity to be your best self. And that's the chiropractic journey and story. And I'm so blessed that we're on with you guys. It's been fun, right, Deanna?
Yes. I told somebody I was going to a chiropractor, and she says, "Oh my, why aren't you going to an orthopedic surgeon?" I go, "Because I don't want to go there yet. I don't have to. I don't want to. I would rather do it naturally. I don't want medication. I don't want surgery."
There are more and more people in this world, in this town, that are saying the exact same thing that you just said. If we rewinded 10 years ago, that would be a different conversation.
Right. I agree with that.
Because, and I'm not making this up, and I'm not pulling these numbers out of my butt, 50 to 80% of spinal surgeries either don't work or fail within the first 5 years. That's a bad number. Okay? We also know that opioid drugs don't work and they kill people. That's right?
Yeah.
They rob you from life. So if we rewind it 3 years ago, we see everything getting pandemic that took, thousands and thousands of lives. Let me see, what was the number? 23 veterans, I believe it was per week, 23 veterans died either directly from opioid use or suicide, and they're all on opioids. There was, I believe, almost as many people have died from opioid abuse as they have in the Vietnam War. That's why President Trump said, "We got a crisis here. Stop. Let's figure out what's going on." So, surgery sometimes can buy us some time, but quite frankly, it's not working.
No.
If the surgery was working, you'd know. There's a reason why innately your brain's telling you last resort, last resort, last resort.
Well,
Okay.
unfortunately, it's not the last resort anymore. It's the first thing that doctors jump to is surgery or drug, or there's not a, let's find out what's happening. Why is this happening? Let's fix it.
Right.
And that's so disturbing.
It is. It really is.
Okay, I'm going home to have dinner with my wife. And
Pick up your dog.
And your puppy.
I can't wait. Rubber band that.